Welcome back to Heaven and Health. I am your host, JoJo Tavares, and my lovely co-host, Terri Hutchinson from Anchored Not Anxious podcast. Thanks so much for coming back again this week. And this week, we're talking about emotional health. We're talking about, though, surrender. So tell us what you mean by that.
All right, so I want to start with a short summary of a story about Daniel from the Bible. So there were these conniving officials. They tricked the king to sign a law prohibiting prayer to anyone or anything except the king. So these officials knew Daniel's conviction to pray, and they caught him praying and brought him to the king. A law is a law, and the punishment for praying was the lion's den. Now, Daniel should have been anxious and fearful when he learned his fate. I mean, come on, favored by the king one day and then put on death row the next. But David anchored himself to God, sticking to his core beliefs in the face of the officials' pride and hate. A pride and hate that sculpted their minds and hearts. Now, neither the king nor David could persuade or bully those deceiving officials into changing their mind. So, death for Daniel. He had no power to change them or his circumstances, so Daniel surrendered to God what he could not change. Now, how can this story help us surrender to God or separate from our situation that causes us anxiety and stress? Any
Yeah.
ideas, Jojo?
Well, I mean, if you give to what's really amazing about this is what we talked about at church on Sundays. Daniel,
What?
not specifically surrender, but Daniel. It's really funny. Because when I saw this, I thought, oh, this is really very funny. But yeah, I think when we surrender things to God, we don't feel that anxiety about I've got to fix it, I've got to fix it, what do I do? You give it to him and we know that he's going to deal with it for us. It may still not feel great, but it feels there's a relief, right?
Yeah, of course. Then there's some of us because sometimes we just we ask questions. We ask God or we just throw it out. Say, what happened to them? Why can't they see what they do and hear what they say? Or we ask, why don't they want to change? Or, we'll throw this out to God. Do you see and hear how they make me feel? I
Yeah,
mean, and what's happening is we're asking the wrong questions. And then sometimes we want our circumstances to change.
oh yes.
I mean, you're disgruntled, burnt out in a job or a relationship, or even the choices you've made. You try to fast track your escape using impatience, manipulation, control, which is likely really only going to cause another poor decision. I can testify to that.
Mhm.
So, other questions we might ask God or just ask in general is, why is this happening to me? Why am I
Yeah,
stuck in this situation? Or why can't things just return to normal?
yeah,
But
because that would be easier for us, right? Then we don't
yeah,
need to surrender. We don't need to do that because surrender does mean that we have less control. And that is less anxiety, but there's a lot of anxiety when we are trying to let go because we want that control.
absolutely. I mean, surrender can really kind of be like a dirty word.
Yeah,
What? That surrender means giving up and letting go. It means losing. And so I think, we need to change the question we're asking. The
mm,
question we need to ask is, how do I surrender to you, God, what I cannot change? Or how do I separate from the emotions and the swirling thoughts? How do I create space between me and that? And so, for me, surrender still is kind of a last resort. Like, I mean, sometimes it's easy, but when you're heavily invested in the outcome, surrender is hard. And so what I do, I say, great, just great, God. You want me to surrender when that person whose attitude and words create anxiety for me gets to stay the same? Or sometimes I say, why do I have to change or accept them as they are? I want
Right.
you, God, to do something in them, not
Fix
me.
it.
No, there's nothing wrong with me.
Right. It's so much easier if God would just fix it.
I know.
Fix the other person.
Yeah, yeah. Or just, okay, all right. That's that's who you're going to be, and then I will be who I'm going to be. Yeah, okay. So, Jesus understands because he walked in our shoes for a while.
Mhm.
And he's also the master of anchoring to God. In Jesus' own words, your will be done. And so those words show how he anchors himself to God, in order to carry out his salvation mission. He kept the focus on God. So, what does surrender feel like? What does it look like? Well, it's moving from a state of tension and resistance to a state of rest. All right. It's a whole body experience. Surrender invites peace, and it's entering into a powerful partnership with God. God's working power in you increases your endurance, your perseverance, and patience as you interact with anxiety inducing personalities, or you're overthinking or trying to control an outcome. Surrender helps you see past what you don't like to what is tolerable. So you and God together have the power to change yourself, and it starts from within.
Yeah, absolutely. I
So
think
our
it's,
challenge.
yeah, before we get to our challenge, yeah,
Oh,
I think this is really a powerful message because surrender brings peace. But when we think about surrendering, it doesn't initially bring peace.
no.
And so understanding that we need to let that go, we need to let God do his thing,
Hmm.
um, is something that we need to be asking those for how do I do this? Because in the beginning, you don't want to give up control. You're angry, you're upset, you're anxious, whatever it is. So I think this is really, really powerful because there is a human um, leaning toward, I don't want to give anything up. I want you to
Yeah,
fix it and fix it now and fix it my way. And surrendering initially doesn't feel like you're going to have peace.
yeah,
But
yeah,
if we ask, and we don't know how to do that. So I think it's really powerful asking the question, how do I do that?
yeah.
Is
And
Mhm.
he'll, like I said, you'll find your way through. So the challenge here is I really want you to try this. So if there's something you're worrying about, you're overthinking or feel anxious about, your tolerance for uncertainty is waning a lot. I want you to take that thing and write it on a piece of paper. Okay. Then you're going to fold it and you're going to tuck it in a drawer. Now, that does two things. Number one, it separates you from it. You're writing it down, you're getting it out of your head and onto paper, and you're saying, I'm going to physically, mentally, emotionally separate from this. The other thing is you can tell God that you are surrendering this Okay. Now you have the option. Surrender it for a day. Separate it, separate from it for a day, a week, a month. You choose, you know, but I want you to see what it feels like to separate, to surrender that to God. And, you know, what does your body feel like? What is it like to not be consumed with that constantly busting in your thoughts or feeling that emotional chaos? You know, it can relieve your anxiety and frustration over what you can't control. All right. So try it. I think you'll
Mhm.
be surprised.
I think so too. I think that's a brilliant idea because you can, the act of writing it down, because otherwise it keeps playing over again in your head.
Yeah.
When you write it down, but I love what you said about folding it, putting it in a drawer, and you're thinking to yourself, I'm separating from it. I love that. So y'all try
Mhm.
that. Let us know how that's working for you. Thank you so much, Terri, for coming on
Sure.
and your wisdom with us a couple times a month. Really appreciate your wisdom and your ideas and your challenges for us.
Well, thank you
So
for having me.
absolutely. Everybody, you have a wonderful week, and we'll be back the next week with another